Good afternoon. I'm Adelina Zendejas. I'm the Deputy Director over the Office of Broadband and Digital Literacy with the California Department of Technology. Yes, I am the state. So I would like to definitely say thank you so much to Vice Chancellor Thomas and also Chancellor Van Horn for inviting me to be part of this great panel this afternoon. So earlier today, I came in and I was talking to Bob Gore, and I was telling him that typically when I speak, I always kind of start off with a broadband question. And I always get this amazing result. And so I was like, so I told him what the question was, and he's like, you should ask that here. And I said, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to know the result. But anyways, so he challenged me, and I accept the challenge. So here it is. So raise your hand if you know what broadband is. So I actually do have a couple of hands that don't. Typically, when I go to speak, I ask that question, and again, I have all different participants that are attending, so different ages, younger students and things, but I'm still seeing a lot of issues or challenges or questions about really not understanding what true broadband is. They get, high-speed internet, the need, and so forth, but one of the things that I've really found that is so important is really looking at really educating the local leaders, because a lot of times, they understand or they know broadband, they know that they need it, but a lot of times they don't realize the true enterprise perspective of what it really means. And so I think I would really like to say that I'm really excited to kind of hear everything that we've heard today and kind of the thread that kind of flows through a lot of the speakers today about what has been going on in your community, how you're really partnering together, how this has been going on for now, 6 years, and that you're still moving forward, because the hardest step is really about just starting. And once you start, then things start moving forward. And I'm really excited to see that we still have a full room in the afternoon. So moving forward with that, so from a state perspective, one of the most important things that we are looking at is how can we, from a state perspective, really help communities, really help the state as a whole, because that's really what the mission is from my 1.5 office of me and a half of person. And so really working with different communities also we work very, very closely with CETF, Sunny, Gladys. I work very closely with all the 17 consortia, and again, some of the consortia are more focused on digital literacy versus broadband infrastructure, and so it depends on that. Also with the legislature, with other of our key state departments that are impacted or impacting broadband infrastructure projects throughout the state. Nonprofits, private industry, we really try to reach out to all those different entities that we feel we can partner, bring together, along with also we have developed a really strong relationship, which is really critical, with tribal entities, and really looking at how we can also help them to also meet their also broadband needs. So. The other thing that we are very involved in working with the California Public Utilities Commission is California was actually the first state in the nation that established a California Broadband Council. The council is comprised of 9 members, and our department director is the chair of that council. And then we have both sides of the House at the legislature. So Senator Wesso is the vice chair, and then we also have Assemblymember Gibson on the council. And then the other 6 members, one of them is Sunny Wright McPeak, who is the president and CEO of CETF. She's the nonprofit representative on the council. And then we have the key departments that really impact broadband, which is our Department of General Services Director, Tom Torlakson through Education, California Office of Emergency Services, Director Ghilarducci for Public Safety, and then Transportation Agency for, of course, Caltrans. So it's a really important council, because what they're doing is really looking at how we can leverage, partner, whatever we need to do to look at improving broadband statewide. They meet 3 times within a calendar year, And there were originally 4 working groups. 2 of them have now been completed in the goals that they had. And so the other 2 working groups are, we have a tribal broadband working group, and then we have, our last group is really looking at how to overcome challenges in local government. So you typically leverage with CETF on a lot of the local government efforts, and also Valley Vision that they do throughout the years. But that's probably something that we'll be working more within the next year to really do that. And of course, before I forget, nobody can ever forget Robert C., because we definitely partner with USDA. And if I don't partner, he calls me and then he'll say, let's commute together. So we definitely are very engaged also at the federal level in seeing it. If there's funds, and let me tell you, Robert and I are talking about those and seeing what we can do. And we don't give up. We are going all over the state together. Right, Robert? One of the great things that I saw today also is Assemblywoman Caballero was here, and pretty much she stayed almost the whole day, really, if you think about it, through lunch, and that just shows the commitment that is from the legislature. I think this is truly a time where the broadband stars have aligned for things to really happen, and especially in this community. We definitely, as Gladys mentioned earlier, talking about AB 1665, Assembly Member Garcia was leading that effort. It had the support of both sides of the House, a lot from both sides of the House, which is really amazing. And then we've got Assemblywoman Aguiar Curry, who used to be the mayor of Winters, the city of Winters. She was elected, and she has been a huge broadband proponent, and she continues to be that in any way that she can, and really looking at however she can to fund, support, whatever she can do. So this, to me, is really exciting, because to have the legislature really to know what's going on, to be involved, and to really want to make a difference, where they're holding informational hearings, which you heard earlier from Assemblywoman Caballero, also where she held another hearing recently, just like 2 weeks ago, in Salinas, and I can guarantee you that she's going to continue to do that work when she goes back. So it would not surprise me in the next couple of months if we see another hearing coming soon. Right, Gabe? So it's one of the other things that we've done from a department perspective are Caltrans, Department of Transportation, and we know that we could improve our, customer service, reaching out efforts. Whenever you say Caltrans or Department of Transportation, everybody's like, they're like, oh my God, oh my goodness. No, they never respond. You can't get them to do anything. But actually, we've been working really closely with them. Assemblymember Wood passed some legislation talking about, dig once policy, and so forth, because we don't want to be doing the same thing over and over again, because to dig again is going to cost twice as much. Why are we spending all that money? It involves pre-planning, doing a lot of things. So they actually have recently established a stakeholder group of public and private entities and they're working to really develop a dig smarter. They're not calling it a dig once, but really a dig smarter policy and plan. They've been very focused. They've had a couple of large group meetings, and actually they're meeting again today, this afternoon in Sacramento. So they are committed. They have one of their deputies assigned to this. They are really looking internally at their staff to do some customer service training, effective training to really understand this whole process of how do they communicate effectively, collaborate. They've established on their website a map, and which is actually addressing broadband infrastructure projects, and so the future ones coming up, so that internet service providers or anybody can go on there and kind of go to the little area, and it'll provide information for you on that project. The one thing I would like to say is anybody that's done any type of project management, we know that most of the large ones, and these infrastructure projects are going to be large, they go on for years, and so when you first do the RFP process and do the award, it takes some time before you actually start implementation. And so during that time, there are changes that could occur. So if you're looking for information on that website, please make sure that you follow up checking, because things can change within a project. And so you don't want to just make an assumption that, okay, this is what's going to happen, it's going to start on this date, when it could be moved out another 6 months or a year or whatever is occurring. So really excited about that, and I've personally had conversations with them, and they really are committed to really improving how they can help the communities. And so let's see. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is the Department of Technology has recently added a new broadband service to our CalNet internet service provider service offering through our Category 5 services. And what that is we actually have internet service providers that we have determined and gone through and added to that provider, so that if anybody wants to use our CalNet services, which are telecommunication services, then they know that those providers have already been approved at certain rates. This is not a service, even though it says that we personally provide. We actually have worked with them, and it's more of a leveraging those contracts. So it would be something that we've actually leveraged costs so that costs are lower. We encourage, tribal communities, local governments, anybody that would like to utilize those. Sometimes it's even better to partner in utilizing those, but those are available on our website, and so that's something else that I wanted to bring to your attention. Then also recently, I don't know if any of you have heard that or seen anything about Microsoft and their role in broadband. So they are, they're now wanting to really get out there and make a difference and really improve broadband, specifically in rural communities. And so, I believe they're doing pilots they're doing 10 pilots. And for some reason, we don't know why, but, we were told that we knew that California was not one of them. Although when we did have our last California broadband hearing or council meeting, we did have a presentation. They did show up and they said they are doing some work in Yolo County. So we did find out that they are doing some. What they actually are doing is they're utilizing TV spectrum, the white space. And so while this is not something that is going to be workable in each area, I think as it was mentioned earlier, for communities, there's lots of different options that need to be looked at for different areas. And this might be something that could potentially be an option for this, this type of community. It's not going to be the end all, believe me, because you have a lot of needs and the needs are very different. But this is something that, they have now started. So I would recommend that, as you guys look at your group, to potentially reach out to them. What they have said is that they usually will take a pilot, and they usually provide the funding for kind of the hardware, other things. They partner with a local internet service provider, and then they do one project at a time, and then the internet service provider is the one that continues with the maintenance. And so we're a big state. California technology works very well with Microsoft, I'll say, and we do buy a lot of Microsoft products and services, and so it doesn't hurt to ask to see if they might consider another project in California. So I recommend that you reach out, you take advantage of any opportunities that are available out there, and then also lastly, the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services has established a California First Responders Network Board. I represent the Department of Technology on that board. That board was established really due to what occurred at 9/11, and because of that awful day, what ended up occurring is we had no communication because just everything went down. And so because of that, the federal government said we really need a nationwide public safety network. And so that is called FirstNet. And so each state has to be part of this public safety nationwide network. Office of Emergency Services is leading this effort and chairing the board. And so one of the things that we will be doing is California needs to determine, and the governor will be doing this, whether we opt into FirstNet or opt out. There is $7 billion attributed to FirstNet, and probably California could use all of that. So we know that there's not going to be enough funding for California. We're going to have to come and use some of our own funding. So whether you can opt in, opt out, or just not make a decision. So if you opt in, then you get your portion of the funding along with following the guidelines of what FirstNet requires. If you opt out, then you're still part of that, however you pay for all of that on your own. And if you choose to not do anything, it's like you're opting in. So that decision and recommendation will be made to the governor, and so the governor will make a decision in late December as to whether California will be part of that. That's going to take a couple of years, down the road. What they're looking to do is, because the way things are going, but hopefully we are not going to be having all these, issues of, what happened in Las Vegas and what's happening, shootings and things, to greater extent where we are going to need a lot of that. So what they plan to do is actually, with any unused spectrum, they would then go ahead and sell that spectrum or allow others to purchase. So while I'm not saying that would probably be the best opportunity, but it may be an opportunity that would, in my opinion, definitely be more costly than less costly in this area and what you're doing. I'm really excited about what West Coast Hills Community District College is doing, because they've really taken a leadership role in really saying, this is what we need. We need to really focus on distance learning. They're really focusing on the ag part, but knowing that it's really going to it's touching everything: education, telehealth, services, broadband, our economy. It's just in everywhere. And as we move forward, and as time goes by, it's going to be touching everything that we do. So I'm really excited, because the hardest part is really just starting, and you're already down the road here, which is just great. I think one of the things that I would really like to just kind of really highlight still is really continue the education, continue it at all levels of local government, at all your within those government leaders. I think some of the things that you're doing here is crossing counties and how you're trying to do that, really leveraging those counties as a group, really getting buy-in, I know that some counties have more funds than other counties, but really looking at how you guys can all become one, and really looking at what those goals are, which I think we're going to be talking about, later on a little bit about kind of what are the next steps and kind of the goals and action items, because I think you're going to find that if you do that, it's really going to help you as you move forward, and you'll be able to really establish these more achievable goals. I heard also earlier about strategic planning, which I think is really, really, really critical. About three and a half years ago, there was a small, Yolo County is not a big county, but they had a local leaders event, little conference forum. And at the end, they asked, what can we really do? We are talking about broadband. We had one of the mayors say, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't understand technology at all. I know I need education. I know I need it to improve, but I just don't get this technology stuff. So what can we really do? And in the end, it was stated that, you really should focus on developing a broadband strategic plan for the county. And, and you really should not be doing anything more than 9 months out. You should try and do it, within the next 6 to 9 months. And so what they ended up doing is actually partnering with each of the little cities. And, some gave, I'm going to say 10,000. I'm sure, Davis gave probably like 30 or something. But they all came together, and I believe it was like $90,000 that they pulled together. They developed the first broadband strategic plan, which is online on their, I believe, their county website. And they did a lot of surveying. They did a lot of, working and educating. And so I think there was some good lessons learned, some that you could probably take, some, it's been 3 years, so they probably may not apply anymore. But I think it's so important that if you're doing strategic planning, which I know you are, that you really either do a separate broadband strategic plan to really get the focus going, or that you really incorporate and really delineate within that strategic plan what the action items are for broadband. Because I think it'll really help you in really focusing and bringing everybody together to really start looking at it from that perspective. So I'd just like to say thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm really, again, very, very excited to see everything that you've accomplished. I'm even more excited to look at kind of the action items that are going to come out of today's conference, and to really see where you're going to be at in a year, which I know will be definitely on the road to something good. So again, thank you so much.